Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon from the mountains of western North Carolina. Welcome to Shadows in the Dark. I'm your host, Jeremiah Greer, and today we'll be discussing electronic voice phenomenon, otherwise known in EVP in paranormal circles as EVPs. We'll be talking about the theories behind them, playing some throughout the show, and taking your calls. So sit back and be watchful of those shadows in the dark. We'll start a little bit off with some world news for you. In Branson, Minnesota, a conservation officer got a call that a timber wolf was chasing cars on a local country road. Upon arriving at the location, the officer witnessed the wolf hide in a ditch until an approaching pickup came by, when at that moment it took off after it. The officer stated, "I don't know if it was protecting some food or what, but I have never seen anything like it." In Tehran, Iran, engineers begin filling a new dam despite warnings from archaeologists that its reservoir will flood newly discovered antiquities and could damage the site of the ancient Persian capital of Persepolis. The launch of the dam was delayed for months to give the archaeologists time to excavate the site after an appeal from the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. The work yielded scientific discoveries such as a road believed to be the royal passage of the Achaemenids, a powerful dynasty in ancient Persia in the 6th century BC, as well as an Achaemenid village with a cemetery and inhabited caves dating back over 7,000 years. Astronomers at the Royal Astronomical Society's National Astronomy meeting in Lancashire, England, revealed that looping magnetic fields along the sun's outer regions, called the corona, carries magnetic sound waves in a similar manner to that of musical instruments such as guitars or pipe organs. Robertus von Fey-Schabenberger of the Solar Physics and Space Plasma Research Center at the University of Sheffield and his colleagues found that explosive events at the sun's surface appear to trigger these acoustic waves that bounce back and forth between both ends of the loops, a phenomenon known as standing waves. The acoustic waves can be extremely energetic, reaching heights of tens of miles, and can travel rapid speeds of 45,000 to 90,000 miles per hour. Von Fey-Schabenberger stated that explosions release energy equivalent to millions of hydrogen bombs. These findings could help explain why the sun's corona is so hot. While the sun's surface is 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, plasma gas can reach more than 100 times hotter. In London, robotic falcons have been enlisted to help control the pigeon population. The robop, short for robotic bird of prey, squawks and flaps its wings, which is something that the city council hopes will scare the pigeons off. The 10 robots, only 2 of which have been installed so far, cost about $4,000 each. Cleaning teams spend 88 staff hours a day scraping droppings from the streets and buildings at a cost of $320,000 a year. The city weighed several options, including using live falcons, but ultimately they settled for buying the robots. And we will be back in just a minute, and where we will talk about electronic voice phenomenon. Now, if you're joining us, this is our first show here on Blog Talk Radio, so you'll have to bear with us as we get used to all the controls and everything. But tonight's show, what we're going to discuss is electronic voice phenomenon. It's probably one of the most documented and unexplainable findings in paranormal research. They're considered disembodied voices that they're not heard by the naked ear, but later found on recordings. It's still up in the air on what the EVP really is, but the common thought is that it's ghost voices, spirits, voices from the other side. Some even believe that it could be alien voices. Of course, for the skeptics, they're going to say that it's just a rogue radio signal, or you're hearing what you want to hear out of it, kind of like when you're in a shower and you hear the doorbell ring and nobody's there. So what we're going to start off with is we'll start back with the history of the EVP, who kind of started the research behind it and things like that. To trace the history of the EVP, you'll have to go back to the 1890s and Thomas Edison, who believed that contact with the dead was very possible. He tried many attempts at doing so with his phonograph machines that he invented, and later in the 1920s, he tried making contact with a special chemical equipment. Now, Edison didn't really have much luck, but it was claimed that in 1938, an EVP was captured on a phonograph, but Edison was not around to see it happen due to the fact he had passed away 7 years prior. But who knows, maybe it was just him saying, "I told you so." The real man that was credited with studying EVPs and starting the research behind it is a man named Frederick Jurgen. His interest began after he was out recording bird songs with a tape recorder. Later, when he went back to listen to them, he could hear what sounded like human voices on the recordings, even though he knew no one was present with him. So, of course, this sparked his interest in EVPs and led to the publication of 2 different books by him, Voices from Space and Radio Link with the Dead. And later, a man named Dr. Konstantin Rodove, a psychologist who taught at the University of Uppsala in Sweden, he contacted Jurgensen in 1965, and they began researching the phenomenon together. Their efforts, they didn't really produce a whole lot. They did get a lot of muffled, weak-sounded voices, which is kind of common in EVPs, if you're familiar with them. So Rodove, he later began his own research, which he done over about a 9-year span. He called on the help of various electronic experts. They recorded over 100,000 audio tapes under what he called strict laboratory conditions. This research included over 400 people who also have claimed to hear Rodove's recorded voices. This all led to the 1971 publication of his book, Breakthrough, and Rodove was such a huge impact on the research of EVPs that in some circles they even refer to EVPs as Rodove voices. So that gives you a little bit of the history of the EVP. As you can see, it's been a phenomenon that's been researched and studied as far back as when audio started. I mean, as far back as Thomas Edison to, once he started the phonograph and was able to record and play back stuff, EVPs were known to exist, or at least he believed in it, and later Jurgensen, along with Rodove, went on to do further research in it. The EVP, it's a very interesting topic when you get discussing it, due to the fact that you don't hear anything, and then you later play something back, and there's voices. They can be interactions, they can be answers to questions, they could even be just a freak comment on what it doesn't even have to do with anything that the people recording are even talking about. So what we're going to do throughout the show, we're going to discuss some of the equipment that you use to capture EVPs, how to help yourself out and maybe to better your chances of getting some. We'll discuss the theories, the techniques. We have some EVPs for you that we're going to play. We have about 10 of them. We'll discuss those a little bit. And if you're out there listening, you want to call in, please feel free to. Our call-in number is 718-508-9887. And you can call in and, discuss EVPs with us. Let us know some of your experiences of trying to capture these voice phenomenons. Or if you have a comment on the EVPs that we play, please call in. We'd like to hear them. Sometimes when you play these, people hear different things. One might hear a voice saying one thing and another person hear a voice saying another thing. So it's always nice to get everybody's take on the situation. So let's get started in talking about the equipment that we use for electronic voice phenomenon. Pretty much anything that can record and play back audio is what you want to use. You can use a cassette recorder, micro cassette recorder, digital recorder, anything along those lines. You just want to be able to record it and play it back and be able to listen to it. Now, of course, it's better if these recorders have earphone and headphone jacks. This will only help you review them and listen to see if you have anything. The digital, the cassette player, that goes back and forth between paranormal researchers on which exactly is better. The digital, personally, I always use the digital recorder because it's a lot simpler. You have a lot more time on it. There's no swapping tapes. The cost, of course, is always something to consider. With cassettes, you don't want to reuse your cassettes. If you've done a lot of recording on cassettes, you know that you keep recording over it and over it. Eventually, your previous audio recorded will start bleeding through. And you don't want that, because then what's going to happen is you're going to mistake an EVP when you really don't have one. So digital, in that term of being cost, that's the best way to go. If you get a digital that has a USB port, which you can plug into your PC or your laptop, definitely helps out a lot, because then you can take and you can transfer that over to your computer, send it into some kind of audio editing program in which you can mess around with it, clean it up, reduce the noise, amplify, which in many cases this helps with EVPs. That way you can tell what's being said and you can understand it a little better. In my experience, I found that helps out a lot. Sometimes you get the EVPs that they're clear as day, you can understand them, and you don't have to do any kind of cleanup on them. Those are always nice to have, but not always the case. A good audio program, Audacity, it's a free program. You go to audacity.com. You can download it there. It's a good place to start. Of course, you can always go out and buy your own program. I went out and bought my own. I used one. Very good, user-friendly program. Also, what you want is a omnidirectional microphone. What this does is the microphone is able to pick up noise in every direction. These are definitely good to have. They're not a necessity with the digital recorder as much as they may be with the cassette recorder. The reason for this is the digital, it doesn't have any moving parts. So with no moving parts, it doesn't generate background noise on its own, whereas the cassette, with its moving parts, you're going to get that background noise that you always hear if you use microcassettes and cassette recorders. Now, some believe that that's a good thing, because the cassette generates its own white noise, which we'll talk about a little bit later. It also has that magnetism in it, which some believe is a must for recording EVPs. So really it comes down to, your personal preference. I'm part of a paranormal research group, Eastern Paranormal Investigators Community. You can visit our site, easternparanormalinvestigators.com. But when we go out and we do investigations, we actually use both. We use the digital, we use the cassette. The biggest thing with paranormal research and EVPs is to experiment. You want as many things out there as you can to see what works the best. And you never know, the digital might work best at that location, whereas the cassette doesn't, and vice versa at another location. So you never know. You've got to go out there and experiment a lot with it. The microphone, the omnidirectional microphone, back to it, that mainly you want to use for cassette, because that's going to help reduce that background noise for you. The least amount of background noise you have, the easier it's going to be to tell if you have an EVP or not. So you want to keep that in mind, when you're out there. Also, your headphones are definitely a must whenever you go to review these. You want to be able to take your headphones, sit down in a quiet place, put them on, plug it into your PC or whatever your recorder was, and listen back to your EVPs. there's different kinds of headphones out there. My personal favorites are the ones that reduce the amount of noise. They're usually padded with leather. They fit good around the ear. Those are definitely good to use because you get more sound in your ear, and sometimes those EVPs are just kind of back there in the distance and kind of difficult to hear. So you wanna make sure that you have it right in your ear. Don't crank the volume up too loud that it distorts it. You want it at a good level that you can hear it and understand it. So some of the other techniques, of course, it comes up a lot of times about location and time. Is there a certain location? Is there a certain time that you want to record EVPs? Yeah, technically, there's not. Some believe that the hours of midnight to 2 a.m. or midnight to 4 a.m. are good hours to do paranormal research, but that's necessarily not true, especially in the case of EVPs. I've recorded them all times of the day. It doesn't matter. People will tell you, set your recorders out, leave them recording. You never know what you're going to get. That's the thing with EVPs, is you don't know what you're going to get when you're going to get it. So, excuse me, that's pretty much up to you. It's really what you have time for and what locations you could get into. Big thing on locations is always make sure you get permission. Don't just show up at a location just because you want to do it. You need to make sure that you have permission to do so. Obviously, you don't want to be arrested, fined, and cost you a lot more money. I mentioned white noise. White noise is that sound you hear if there's no signal on a radio or television. And a lot of paranormal researchers believe that white noise can help generate EVPs, that it gives the spirit voice something to help project its voice. When you get into talking about spirit voices, there's a lot of theories out there. Pretty much the paranormal research, the field of paranormal research, it's full of theories. There's nothing that's really solid. So, that's all you have to go off of. And the reason nothing's solid is one thing might work and, something else might work. And you say, well, I've done it using white noise, but I can also do it without using white noise. I did it with the digital. I did it with the cassette. So, you don't have any really solid base to go by to say, okay, you have to have the white noise, you have to have the cassette, et cetera. So that's why we talk about experimental a lot with it. So the white noise, what we'll do is we'll play you a little sample of white noise here just so you understand what we're talking about. And they do make white noise generators, fairly inexpensive. Some people you can even make your own. It's pretty much you have a recording of this, you can just loop it and keep it playing. So here's a little sample of what white noise exactly is. And we'll play it one more time for you. All right, so that's what white noise is. Pretty simple little thing. So like I said, you can get a white noise generator just about anywhere. So you can look around, internet, stores, whatever. A lot of people use it to go to sleep, just have that background noise. And that's why, we talked about the cassettes, about generating its own white noise and having its magnetism. And that's that noise that you'll hear a lot of times in the background of those cassettes, and that's what you hear there. We also recommend using 2 recorders when you do EVPs. The reason for this is it gives you the opportunity to, if you're in a location and you record on 2 separate recorders, when you go back and review it, you can listen to one recorder, and if you hear something you think's an EVP, you can match it up to the other one, and you might hear something totally different, or you might hear that it was another one of the investigators on the side, or your friend standing beside of you. With recorders, they record at different tones, at different pitches. Even the same, exact same thing recorded on 2 different recorders can sound, very different. So, it's always a good idea to use 2 recorders, multiple recorders, whichever is best for you. In regards to getting recorders, again, you can, search out the internet, find, a lot of good ones out there. refurbished, even refurbished recorders are definitely good to use. You usually end up with some kind of warranty on them. They're like half the price, if it was brand new, and they work just as good. All my recorders I have, they're all refurbished. I've never had a problem with them. They all record very good. They all play back like I want them to. They all have the USB, and I don't think I paid around like $30 or $40 for each one, and they're all digital. Also, when you're doing them, a good idea is to, you want to mark things that go on, state on your recorder certain things so you don't mistake them, and definitely try not to whisper as much as possible. Whispering, what happens with that is, a lot of EVPs will come over as, like we talked earlier, a weak kind of muffled sound. So if you talk in your normal tone, usually 99% of the time you're going to be able to tell it was you. The same thing with like coughs and sneezes. You want to make sure if you cough or you sneeze, you state on the recorder, that was Jeremiah just coughed, that was Jeremiah just sneezed. If you get a chance, hit record on your recorder and see what those sounds sound like. A cough, amazingly, sounds a lot like a dog bark or, something to that effect, some kind of bark. And you can easily mistake that as something when you really don't have anything. Same thing for a sneeze. It can sound very different once you play it back on a recorder. Once you record in your location, you're done and you get back to where you're going to listen to it. One of the biggest things is to review this recording in a quiet place. You want to make sure, there's not a lot of noise around. That way you don't have a lot of interference with what you're hearing. Because you want to make sure that, that you do hear what you hear. Also, if you have multiple listeners, definitely is, always a plus when reviewing EVPs. You take that, you listen to it, give it off to somebody else, let them listen to it, but don't tell them what you hear. See if both of y'all hear, at least is similar or very close to each other. That's what we do when we go out and research things and we come back and we listen to them. We bring another investigator over and we're like, hey, listen to this, tell me what you hear. And if they hear the same thing, then, that makes it a little more solid. If they're hearing something different, then, y'all can mess around with it, clean it up some in the audio, things like that to, better understand it. A quick rundown again, you need something that records and plays back audio. Digital cassette, it doesn't really matter. Just depends on, what you can afford in the long run. I recommend a digital with USB. That way you can download it to your PC. An audio program, if you plan on downloading to your PC, you'll need some kind of audio editing program. Again, Audacity. It's a free program, audacity.com. Microphone, especially for the cassette, make sure it's omnidirectional. That way it's picking up sound from all directions. And you also want a set of headphones to be able to plug in and listen to it, get that sound right on your ears so you can hear, make sure you don't miss anything. And, like we were talking, the, EVPs, they're sometimes very difficult to pinpoint when you're listening back to them. And what you'll hear some here very shortly, we're going to play some for you. We'll discuss them a little bit. And you'll hear the difference in them. You'll hear some that are very clear. You'll hear some that are, lower, almost a whisper. You'll hear some that are, some that interact with the conversations. Some that talk right over the person that's doing the recording. We have different kinds, and all these were at different locations, all the way from cemeteries to my house to, other houses, places that we've been to. And so that's a big thing. You don't have to go to a place, let's say, where it may be associated with death and dread and, and horror or anything like that, like cemeteries. You don't necessarily have to go to a place like that. EVPs can be recorded anywhere. Like I said, I've recorded EVPs in my own home. We have an investigator that records EVPs in his home all the time. I mean, almost every day. And so, and I know that, nothing bad has ever happened here, and I happen to get one. You get into personal belief. Is it, can a spirit travel wherever it wants to? I mean, does it have to be in the same location that you're recording in order to pick up? Who knows? So, keep that in mind when you do them. Don't try to, make everything where it's like, well, we've got to go to the cemetery, we've got to go to this haunted place, or, or anything like that. Just sit down with your recorder, set it down, hit record, start asking questions. Your questions don't have to be anything particular. I mean, what's your favorite color? Tell us your name. Things like that. You don't have to get really in depth with them. First couple times you do it, be aware you're going to strike out a lot of times. A lot of times you don't get any. You may go record for 3 hours and nothing, not one thing at all. And then you go back the next day and you record, and it is completely full of EVPs. I'll let you know how my first experience went. Me and a friend, we'd heard about it, and we'd actually been interested in paranormal for quite some time, but never had done anything like that. So we decided, to check it out after hearing how easy it was. I mean, most of this stuff you're going to have at your own home. I mean, inside your home, you don't really have to go out and buy anything. I mean, most people have a cassette recorder. Most people have, even now, most people have digital recorders. Most people have a PC. So, a lot of this stuff you don't even have to worry about going out and getting. You probably already have it right there, stashed away in a drawer or something like that. But anyway, we went to a local cemetery, and we recorded for approximately an hour or so. We're probably coming back. I mean, we told ourselves on the way there, we're like, well, we're probably going to strike out, but we're not going to let it discourage us. And that's what, don't let it discourage you if you get nothing. So we come back and we listen. We ended up with about 2 or 3 really good EVPs. So, we were very satisfied about it. Got us hooked. I mean, you get that first one, you're going to be hooked. You're going to be wanting to do this on a regular basis. You go to bed at night, you're going to lay your recorder down, and you're going to hit record on it just to see what you get. Now, some people, they don't want to do it in their own home. Sure, I don't blame them on that. I was worried about it the first couple of times that I done it, but you never know. So, again, just, you got to experiment with it. That's the biggest thing, Be willing to read up on it, learn about it. There's a lot of books out there, really great books about electronic voice phenomenon. They give tips on what to do, certain equipment to do, maybe how to tweak your equipment a little bit. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a short little break here, and when we come back, we're going to play. We're going to discuss some EVPs. And if you're out there listening, you feel like calling in, that number again is 718-508-9887. If you'd like to visit our website, that's easternparanormalinvestigators.com. That's all one word. So, check us out. See, there's a lot of more information on there about EVPs. So, you get the time. So we'll be back in just a minute. All right, if you're just tuning in, you are listening to Shadows in the Dark. I'm Jeremiah Greer. I'm your host. And what we've been discussing is electronic voice phenomenon. And what we're going to do now, we're going to play some EVPs, discuss them a little bit, see the difference in how some of them sound and the difference about locations. things to that effect, time. So let's start off here, and what we'll do, we'll play it first, then kind of tell you a little bit about it, and we'll play it again. So here's our first one. All right, that one was done at Bessemer City Cemetery. And what it sounds like, you hear what sounds like a little boy singing. We could never make out exactly what was being said. It sounds like, just singing a little song, something about the Doodah Man or Doodah Man or something like that. And if you're out there listening again and you hear something different than us, give us a call, 718-508-9887. And again, let's play that one again. This is the Bessemer City Boy Singing. All right, so let's move on to the next one. This one was actually done here at my home. A little bit of we'll give you a little bit of the story about it as soon as we play it for you. This has been cleaned up some, so you hear kind of a little bit of almost like a robotic tone in there. That's from the noise reduction and the amplification, but this EVP came over really low, so it was necessary to bring it out. Now, it's kind of hard to hear, so you have to listen really close to it. If you were listening, you heard, kind of a couple clicks and like a sniff, like somebody kind of doing like that. It's kind of right in one of those last little sniffs, and what we hear is, "It's me." What happened there is I had my friend had passed away, and I sat down with my recorder here at my home, and I sat on recorder for about 8 minutes. And what I actually asked right before that is, I said, I just want to know that you're here. And about 4 or 5 seconds after that, that's where this EVP picked up. So we're going to play it again, so make sure you listen close and see if you can hear it. Now, if you kind of still can't hear, we'll play it one more time for you. All right, that one was "It's Me," recorded here in my home. All right, the next one was recorded in Mingus Mill, which is in Cherokee, North Carolina. You can search it up on the internet, and what it was an old mill that made flour, corn flour. And one of our investigators, Ed, went there, him, his wife, just to see if they got anything. There's a lot of stories about it. The stories behind Mingus Mill is that you could go up to the door, knock on the door, and you'd hear a baby cry or a woman yell or, things to that effect. So they thought they would go up there, check it out, see if they could get anything. And this is what they come back with.
Something. I was trying to go to review, but that flash kind of blinded me. There
we go down. All right, now if you listen, you'll hear what sounds like a knock on the door, a little scream, which was actually their son playing around, so don't pay attention to the scream. And what was said after that is where the EVP was. So we're going to play it again for you.
Something. I was trying to go to review, but that flash kind of blinded me. There
we go down. All right, so after you hear the little scream you hear, what it sounded like to us was they's hard to fool. We found it to be kind of comical, actually. I mean, it was almost like the whatever was there was trying to hide from them, and they were like, man, they're not going away. These people are just too hard to fool. They're going to keep pushing on us. So let's play it one more time.
Something. I was trying to get a review, but that flash kind of blinded me. There
we go down.
All right, and that again was Days Hard to Fool. And again, if you're out there listening and you want to call in, you have some comments or hear something different, that number again, 718-508-9887. All right, the next one we're going to listen to, again, was recorded by one of our investigators actually in their own home. This investigator, he likes to record all the time. He has a lot of stuff going on at his house, especially in regards to EVPs. He's always picking up EVPs, and some are very interesting. So here's this one here. We're going to play it for you.
Please hush.
Now, what it sounded like to us was that bug. That's what you're hearing there. And what we found really interesting about this, and if you listen closely, you hear a dog growl. And that's actually their dog. And it actually kind of starts growling at the time that the EVP starts, and you'll hear it a little bit after. And you actually hear his wife tell the dog to hush. So, you always hear the theories that children and animals are more sensitive to, especially paranormal things, like ghosts and spirits. So, this could maybe back that up a little bit. I mean, you hear the dog growl and you hear the EVP. So let's play it again for you. That bug. Here you go.
Please hush.
Again, personally, I just, I really like that EVP for that reason of the dog growling in there. That, that gives it that little bit of extra there. So, always a plus to kind of get something like that. All right, our next one was actually in the basement of the same location. Actually, we have quite a few from this investigator's house. This one was recorded in his basement. This is one of the first ones that he gave me. So let's play it for you, and then we'll talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. I got to put these headphones on for a second.
All right, so you'll hear him talk at first, talking about putting the headphones on, and it kind of, the EVP is, quite a distance away from it. You hear a female's voice. Well, it sounds like, who is here? Almost like, they're inquiring, well, who's here? Who's here with me in this area? You also you'll hear that sometimes in a lot of EVPs where you hear how the sound kind of changed a little bit as the EVP came through. Of course, there's a lot of theories out there on it. Is that a change in the frequency, or that was coming through? That's one of the theories, is that these EVPs are on a different frequency. That's why we don't hear it, and possibly why dogs and things. Now, why the recorder picks up that different frequency, I don't know. So I'll play it again for you. This is Who Is Here.
Yeah. I got to put these headphones on for a second.
Now let's move on to the next one. Again, this was in the same investigator's house. Pretty short, pretty straightforward. Here it is. I'm going to play it a couple times for you. Listen to it, see what you hear out of it. Now, what we're hearing out of is hold some more. There was really nothing around the EVP to kind of indicate maybe if it was, interacting with what he was talking about or what was going on. And this is kind of one of those ones that it's just a random thing. There's nothing specific about it. It's just a random comment. So let's play it one more time for you.
Hold some more.
So again, let's hold some more. Our next one is a little bit, one of the lengthy ones again in our investigator's house. So we'll play it and then discuss it a little bit.
They're doing another missile test.
So on that one, they're sitting there, they're watching the television, they had their recorder going, and you hear his wife say, they're doing another missile test. Then you hear what sounds like, shh, where are the children? There's something else kind of said in there, we can't quite understand it, we weren't able to, bring it, even running it through the audio editing program, we still couldn't make out what it was saying. That's, our investigator near the end. So let's listen to it again.
They're doing another missile test.
Again, that one, where are the children? So, was it interacting with that, talking about missile tests? Was it maybe saying, you need to get your children together, where's your children, pay attention to the children, something to that effect. Let's listen to it one more time.
They're doing another missile test.
Now, again, if you're just tuning in, this is Shadows in the Dark. We're playing some EVPs, or known as electronic voice phenomenon. If you'd like to call in and you have a comment on one of these, that's number 718-508-9887. We'll get you on, and maybe you've had some EVP experiences yourself that you'd like to talk about, or suggestions on, how to go about them, record them, some techniques. So we're going to move along. We're going to do our next, our last ones that we have are actually some from an investigation that we've done. We did this on a historic home in Waynesville, North Carolina, which is local to us. We're broadcasting out of Canton, North Carolina, in Haywood County. So, we were lucky to get permission to go in this home, very large home, very beautiful home. And we got some very good EVPs in there. Now, all the ones we played before, nothing really eerie or creepy about them. We had a boy singing. We had what sounded like, the spirits maybe playing around with them, talking about they were hard to fool, things like that. So now we went to this place. And, all in all, they really didn't have a lot of things going on, a few little things. So we went in. And throughout the night, it was quiet. And not a lot going on, so we were kind of surprised to get some of the EVPs that we got. Now, the first one we're going to play, it's really not, not as eerie or creepy as maybe one might think. Kind of falls along the line with the rest of them. But like I said, our last three, those are going to be the ones from the historic home in Waynesville, North Carolina. Is anyone here? Then you'll hear our investigator ask, is anyone here? Which is, a lot of times when you're doing EVPs, that's a common question. Is anyone here with me? Is there anybody who'd like to say anything? And right after he says it, you hear a female voice, which at that time he was walking around. There was no females with him. And, we're not sure. We hear, is that you? That's what I hear out of it. Who knows what else somebody else may hear out of it. So let's play it one more time for you.
Is anyone here?
All right, is that you? All right, we have a caller on the line, so let's see who we got here. Hey, who is this?
Hey, my name's Shane, and I live in Charleston, South Carolina. This is my first time on the radio.
Hey, Shane is actually my brother. The music that you heard tonight on our show, that was actually music that was composed by Shane. So how you doing?
Hey, the show sounds great. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I just got home from work, and finally, I've been trying to get home early so I could catch the whole show. So, yeah, it's really interesting. And even though I know you've played those EVPs for me, they still kind of give me chills hearing it, even again.
Well, so we ain't even got into the creepy ones yet. So we got a couple more that's where it gets a little creepy on us. The first ones were a little more subtle, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I guess I could ask you some questions about I'm not sure what all you already covered with the folks, but I was kind of wondering about are there anything that are like prime conditions for EVPs, things you look for when you're trying to record them? Any kind of, circumstances or anything?
Well, that's the thing with a lot of EVPs, especially a lot of the ones that, that we played. They've come at different times of the day, day, night, rainy, clear. It doesn't seem to really matter when to get them. I mean, you got the theories out there of what, people want. I mean, a lot of people will go by the full moon, the new moon, that 12 to, the midnight to 4 a.m. hours, which a lot of people believe a lot of paranormal stuff will happen during those times. But, from personal experience, hit record on the recorder when you want to and let it go.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I know some of the ones you played for me were almost. I know, I just got in and I got to hear the one about the children. That one's kind of, to me, that one's kind of, just because it's a whisper, it seems kind of, and it makes it kind of eerie. But I remember some of the ones you played for me that even kind of calm, like singing. Have you played any of those?
Which one?
Let me see. Ones that almost sound like, I know we've talked about how it's the static and let me see, I'm trying to say here. Oh, how sometimes some voices come over, they have to use some kind of white noise to project their voice, right? Something like that?
Yeah, we went over the white noise, talked about the white noise generators. But, yeah, we played one that was comical, the one about where they were at Mingus Mill, and it talks about them being hard to fool, they's hard to fool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we played that one. Let's play it one time right fast while we got you here. Here we go. They's hard to fool.
Something. I was trying to go to review, but that flash kind of blinded me. There
we go down. And then when y'all were there, you heard nothing, right? It comes over the...
Right, yeah. I mean, you have some that you can hear. I mean, most of the time, EVPs, you're not going to hear them until you play your recording back and you listen to it. But, I mean, yeah, sometimes you do have audible, voices that, are, considered disembodied. There's nobody around, but you hear a voice. Personally, I haven't got to experience anything like that in, the places that we have investigated.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to ask you a question, then I'll get off the phone here, see if, maybe you've already covered it, I don't know, because like I said, I missed the first half of the show. But if you'd share some of your ideas on what EVPs may be or may come from.
No, we really haven't gone over that. We'll play these last couple ones and we'll kind of give my thoughts on it.
I think that'd be really interesting. Well, thanks for taking my call.
All righty, we'll talk to you later.
Have a good one. Bye.
All right. All right, so let's play our last couple EVPs from the historic home in Waynesville, North Carolina. And this is where we're talking about where it kind of gets a little creepy. I mean, throughout the night it was kind of calm, but, kind of when we went back and listened to these, it did end up getting a little creepy on us. So here's the first one we got. Now we're going to play it one more time for you, so listen closely to it. All right, so what you hear there is a very whispery voice saying, "Go away," which was very creepy, once we listened to it. You had some there telling you to go away. Apparently, we figured maybe it didn't want us there. They definitely didn't want to interact with us while we were there. And what was very interesting about this one is we had 3 recorders, it was 2 digitals. We had 3 digital recorders, a cassette recorder, and a camcorder set up in this house. And they were all in different locations. This happened on the 2nd floor of the house. There was one on the 1st floor. We had a couple on the 2nd floor. We had one up on the 3rd floor. This was a 3-story house. And this EVP actually picked up on every single recorder that we had going at the time, which we found to be really, really interesting. I mean, it almost had an omnipresence to it, that no matter where you were in the house, that voice projected on all recorders. To us, like I said again, very interesting to end up with something like that. That's one thing with, EVPs that you get. You get, different things, different times, and, things like that. So, very interesting. So we're going to play the last EVP of the day for you, and then I'll give you some of my thoughts on them, and then we're going to close out the show. Again, if, you're out there listening, got a comment, that number again, 718-508-9887. So here you go. Here's our last EVP from the historic home in Waynesville. I'm going to play that for you one more time. Now, what we heard out of it was a female voice that was saying, "You'll be next." Next for what? Who knows? Definitely very creepy to hear that "you'll be next" by somebody that wasn't even there. And so let's play it one more time for you. And that one still gives me the chills to listen to it. Out of all the ones we got from that house, I think that was the creepiest one out of all of them. I mean, we listened to that thing over and over again, trying to, what it was talking about. So that's our EVPs that we had. I hope you enjoyed them. My thoughts on EVPs, I've done a lot of reading on them, done a lot of studying, because, like I said, we do, I'm part of a paranormal research group. I kind of believe in the theory of, spirits projecting their voice, that they have to go through stages, that they have to build strength to be able to do so. So when they start off, maybe they can't project them where it's actually, you can hear it without any kind of aid, like a recorder. So, they just start off with a lower, weak voice, and that's why sometimes you get the whispers. And as they get themselves familiar with it, they build their strength, they go on to their voices get a little, you can hear them a lot better. And as you heard, we got whispers, we got clear voices, we got some that we had to amplify. So, and as they get stronger and stronger, then eventually you can hear them without recorders or anything. Then they move on up to where even maybe they can appear, like a full body apparition or something to that effect. So, I kind of fall into that theory, and, that's a lot of my beliefs in it. The one we heard that said, "It's me," as I told you, that was my friend that had passed away. It was recently after that. So, it come very low, very weak. So in time, maybe he'll build his voice to be able to show himself, or whatever. So, and like again, there's a lot of information out there on EVPs. You can visit our website, easternparanormalinvestigators.com. We've done stuff on them there, a little more tips, things like that. it's a very interesting topic, and anybody who's interested in ghosts and spirits or, the other side, afterlife, it always strikes a nerve in them that they want to talk about it because, to me, this gives proof of afterlife. I mean, here we are getting voices from nowhere, really, and, another realm, or, another side, and, they interact with you. Not all of them. You've heard we get random comments, but we also have interactions. We have answers to questions, and, I just can't believe that would be a rogue radio signal or CB signal that happened to pick up on my recorder. I mean, I say, is anybody here? And I get an answer, is that you, or I'm here, or, an interaction with it. Well, to me, that definitely goes a long way, away from a rogue radio signal. So, again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining our show, those of you who tuned in here on blogtalkradio.com. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll join us next time. Make sure, go to our site, easternparanormalinvestigators.com. You can also visit our Blog Talk Radio site at blogtalkradio.com/Shadows in the Dark. Look for our upcoming shows. We're looking, to hopefully book some guests, different people on here to talk about different subjects. Tonight we covered EVPs. Who knows what we'll do next time. We've got investigations that we've done that we can talk about. You can also, if you want to send us an email, you can email us at shadows@easternparanormalinvestigators.com. We'd love to hear from you, hear what you thought of the show, if there's anything you'd like for us to change. We enjoy doing this paranormal research. It definitely, it's a field that's not really recognized a lot. Just recently has really kind of been getting, to be in the spotlight some, and, I think it's stuff that people should explore. I mean, the spirit, the soul, that's a major thing about you. I mean, that's something that you got to take care of, and, getting yourself familiar with stuff like this can, definitely help you out and things like that. Make you feel a little better sometimes, even when you hear the creepy ones. So again, thanks for joining our show, Shadows in the Dark. I'm Jeremiah Greer. Again, blogtalkradio.com/Shadows in the Dark. Our website for our paranormal research group, easternparanormalinvestigators.com. That's all one word. Email us at shadows@easternparanormalinvestigators.com. And again, the music was provided and composed by Shane Greer, which y'all heard from him earlier. So again, we want to thank everybody, and always be watchful of those shadows in the dark.